Welcome to the exercise on the elevation box. This exercise is going to help you use your elevation marks correctly and navigate through the elevation box while drawing. The first thing you need to do is open up your Practicad exercise template. The second thing we need to do is make sure on every drawing that right when we open the drawing, we decide to find out what is the new reference we're going to work with. In other words, what is our new zero? In this exercise, we're going to pretend that we're doing the third floor of a building, and therefore we're going to say that our new relative zero is going to be at 30 feet. So we go into the elevation box. Here it should be blank. There should be nothing in there but zero for your current elevation if it's a new drawing. And we're going to move our cursor over to the left and then click once to create a new relative mark. It should say 0 as a default. Then we need to put in the new reference for 0, which is going to be 30 foot. Once we hit enter, you're going to need to hit the elevation marks view to properly see the top and bottom elevations in your box. And now we're going to set this to relative bottom by clicking on the bottom yellow circle, and that'll turn blue, and now it's set as relative bottom. So we've got elevation mark 0 at 30 foot relative bottom. Now we're ready to draw using the relative bottom values. Go into your fitting bin and grab a piece of rectangular duct. Zoom in to the quadrant I'm zooming into. Go to your elevation box, and where it says bottom, relative bottom, so this is the bottom of duct in reference to relative bottom, put in 10 feet and hit enter. This should put your duct at 40 foot in absolute, but we're going to say 10 foot above relative bottom. Then we're going to place the duct on the drawing. I'm going to put just a few pieces on there and then hit escape. Now go to your tagging bin and select your elevation 0 no leader. This tells you the elevation from your reference or elevation mark 0. I'm going to click once. Then I'm going to click one more time on the duct I want to place. And the tag's just like duct. Notice here that the tag wants to attach to the nearest node. So if I actually click, it's going to snap to that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to hit F3. I'm going to shut my O snaps off so they're not on currently. And then I'm going to click once. Practicad's going to ask me for a rotation. I've got polar tracking on, so I'm going to click again. And now my tag is down. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure to put my O snaps back on. So I'm going to type in, I'm just going to hit F3, or you can come down here. So you should have 3 pieces of duct on the drawing, bottom at 10 foot, but that's relative to our new relative bottom. Now, go to your architectural bin and grab the rectangular slab. I have it set at 200 by 200, and the height is 5 inches. Now we're going to set the top of slab to be 5 feet higher than our relative bottom. So this is the top, center, and bottom of the slab we're holding. I'm just going to say 5 foot right here for top of slab, 5 foot from relative bottom. That should mean that the top of slab will be at 35 foot in absolute. And then place it on your drawing. Click once, and then it asks you for rotation. Just line it up to 0. Click again. Hit escape to let go of the slab. Now what we're going to do is create a new relative mark for this zone where the slab is. So what we need to do is click on the slab, double check where the elevation is. Top of slab is at 35 foot, so we want to make a new relative mark at absolute 35 foot. So we come over here, once the cursor turns to the right, click, type in 35 foot, and then go to where it says relative mark 1 and change it to 1A. And you can use capital or lowercase. I'm going to use capital A. Now, set this slab to new relative bottom by clicking the bottom yellow circle. Now we have a new 35 foot's our new relative bottom. So now we're going to grab duct. I'm going to hit N for new so that it's a new line. And we're going to say bottom at 5 foot. But that should be 5 feet from relative bottom, which is relative bottom's 35 foot, bottom's 5 foot above it, so we're absolute 40. And place that right over the slab. I'm going to hit C for continue and place one more piece. Now tag this duct with your relative 1A tag. Once again, I'm going to hit F3 to shut off my snap so I don't snap to that nearest point. Placing the tag down and then hitting F3 to turn O snaps back on. If we've done this correctly, this duct here should say 5 foot. Even though we know by clicking on the duct that we're actually 40 inches in the air. And we can continue to create as many different slab heights as we want. And we can continue with another one, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E. There's also a whole bunch more in your documentation custom tagging section. So to go over that process again, go to your elevation box and now pull all of the elevations off. Notice I'm going to hold this little blue arrow and pull to the left. Hold the yellow arrow, pull to the left. Reset current elevation to 0 and click on your elevation marks view. So to start the drawing, let's pretend that this time we want to start the drawing and the floor is going to be at 20 foot. 20 feet in absolute elevation will be the new 0. We open up our drawing. We click once. Give it the new absolute 0, 20 foot. Use elevation marks view to get everything centered in the elevation box. And set the new elevation mark to 0 to blue. Set it to relative bottom. That is the procedure for every drawing you open up. One key thing to note, once you put an elevation mark, meaning this value, on the elevation box, you should never change it, especially after you've already placed tags down. You can switch different elevations to be relative bottom or relative top, but you don't ever want to change this from 0. This will be your new 0 for the drawing. That'll conclude the tutorials on the elevation box.